What's good, everyone? This is Coastal here. I'm going to keep it real plain and simple. This isn't every animal we've found in the Leonida regions, but it's a sturdy, solid lineup of the most interesting ones we've heard of. Mostly creatures found all throughout Leonida, aka Florida, with a little bit of lore if you're into that stuff. But let's cut the small talk, no cutting corners or no jump starts. This is just straight immersive, you feel me?
White pelicans do a lot of lazy flapping, compared to other small birds that take up half of their energy just by taking off the ground. Even though their flaps appear fast right now, American white pelicans use at least 5 flaps to take up off the ground, including their powerful legs to run by gaining momentum just to jump up off the ground. Notice how the seagull keeps turning its head while facing the wind? Then it crouches just a little. It's centering its weight, all while building tension in the legs and getting ready to jump. Notice how close these people can get to these birds without spooking them. That actually matches their social battery. They're way more adaptable than most birds. They have a long history of landing on the side of us. These two people are a prime example that avoiding eye contact reduces the chances of seagulls flying away. Not entirely, but enough to get this close and personal with the seagulls. However, it doesn't change how stressed out this seagull is right now. In real life, seagulls have survival instincts called gaze sensitivity. If you stare at them for too long, they most likely fly away. But no matter how close you get to the gull, it's gonna stay in its same position, as long as you're not making any sudden movements or eye contact. Raccoons have a strong long-term memory. They remember food spots, hiding places, and escape routes for years. It can climb just like a squirrel, just slower because it's heavier, of course. It slips back into the bushes, and from there, it heads into a nearby shelter. So when you see this one leave your trash can, it doesn't go far. Raccoons are much more heavier than a squirrel. A raccoon can climb straight to the top of palm trees, just like this palm tree next to Jason's house, using height safety and the city itself as a cover. In the Leonida Keys, North American raccoons are predators of green iguanas. They choose something easier and more reliable: trash. The raccoon won't waste energy chasing it. Because raccoons are not reckless hunters, they're opportunistic. That means they choose the safest meal with the least effort. A dumpster doesn't fight back, and a trash can surely doesn't escape and run into the water to escape a raccoon. That would just make things harder for yourself as a raccoon, to be honest. I feel like you're better off as a raccoon just saving energy and eating trash. When a white-tailed deer senses danger, it does the complete opposite of what you'd expect. It clamps its tail against its body, hiding that bright white fur to vanish inside the bushes, sometimes even lying down to stay hidden. Tucking that small tail down, that means it's in stealth mode. But when it does run, that tail shoots up like a white flag, flashing, warning, and guiding the herd to safety. That white tail keeps the herd together, while unpredictable movement makes it harder for predators to catch. A deer does an awful lot more than just run in a straight line. It zigzags, stopping and cutting side to side. On top of that, white-tailed deers change their fur color within the seasons. This red fur helps them blend into the Moncalaga woods and stay cool in the heat. In summer, their fur is reddish-brown, which we can see right here. In the winter, their fur turns grayish-brown. This helps them stay hidden in the darker landscaping. As far as how cold it would get in Leonida, I don't know for sure. I can't justify that their fur would actually react to the weather. But what I can say is, it already gets hot in Leonida. We already see people sweating, which kinda makes it obvious. I'm just saying, if that's how hot it is for humans in Leonida and they actually sweat, imagine how deers manage to keep up with the heat. We already see the reddish-brown fur, which keeps them cool while blending into the woods. You can see it perfectly in the images. It matches how many deer species look, especially white-tailed deers in the summer. Deers have great vision, but it works best when something is moving. They're built to notice motion, not things that stand still. Think of it like Red Dead Redemption 2 binoculars. When something moves, it's clear. But when it stands still, it blends into the environment, significantly blurry. So when a cougar freezes, the deer's vision isn't locking onto a predator. It's just seeing a shape that isn't moving. That stillness, it's what makes the deer stare longer, waiting to see if it moves again. And that's when the hunter goes in for the blitz. In shared living environments, small dogs like feisty Yorkies often try to boss cats around or chase it because of their natural hunting instincts. Yorkies are terriers. They were bred to chase fast-moving animals like rats. A stray cat usually doesn't stay calm when a dog starts chasing. That triggers stress, fear, and flight response. You'll see cats hissing, swatting, or quick escapes to higher ground. Calm behavior only shows up when the cat has full control, distance, elevation, or a clear exit. There's a quote that says some risks don't give second chances. So when you put a Yorkie on the ground, especially with no leash, and they see a stray cat, you could only expect them to do one thing, which is run into traffic, and you know the rest. It's highly likely a Yorkie Terrier would chase a stray cat. That probably explains why the owner's deliberately holding the dog up instead of putting it on the ground next to traffic. Under stressful conditions like during a police raid with animals involved, a territorial dog is often caught in the crossfire. In Red Dead Redemption 2, there is an event where a horse can suddenly be blitzed for not being able to win against your horse. But with a territorial guard dog, things can escalate pretty quickly. That dog instinct combined with high-stressed officers can lead to a tragic outcome. In the end, the dog becomes another animal caught in the crossfire of humans reacting out of frustration, a pattern that stretches from the 1800s all the way to now. Dogs often reflect the environment they grew up in, which causes them to get blitzed by a bunch of weapons from police. A beware of dog sign outside a building doesn't automatically mean the dog has been aggressive. In most cases, it's an overly protective dog in the interior. Any unfamiliar person entering its space, it triggers an instinctive defense mode. When dog owners, who are athletes, pick up the pace, they move differently, maintaining their momentum. Their dogs doesn't stay right next to them. Instead, it slows down behind the owner and follows at its own pace. As you can see, the owner walks fast and the dog slows down. Do you know that cats get super nervous if you stare at them for too long? And to relieve stress, they decide to wreck your furniture or scratch something outside instead of peeling your eyes out. It's like a meta, like you literally watch them right now get nervous. The cat either doesn't want to scratch you or it will scratch something else and try to avoid you at all costs. This stray cat knows exactly what it's doing. It stays on the ATM machine because that's the high ground and is right next to the door to look out for any other pets that might come in. A restaurant is a lot for an iguana. Different sounds, new smells, constant movement. For an iguana, that's overwhelming. So it closes its eyes to shut everything out. That's called sensory shutdown. Before we meet the animals, we have to look at the environment. A marsh is a type of wetland. All this what you're looking at right now is a part of the Grass Rivers, also known as the wetland. Now, here is the important part of the Grass Rivers. It doesn't always stay fully submerged underwater all year round. Marshes are like giant sponges that absorb water in wet periods and then release it in dry times. In these marshes lives the round-tailed muskrat, also known as the Leonida water rat. Instead of just building, they have different survival strategies. When the Leonida sun dries up the marsh, which is the wetlands, muskrats leave their floating homes and move into secret underground tunnels. Just a heads up, if you're in Leonida and you decide to pull up at the Grass Rivers and you see this plant dead and piled up all together in a muddy area, congratulations! You found the round-tailed muskrat's home. If you ever see a cougar, don't turn your back. Predators chase things that run. That's why running away from a cougar isn't the brightest idea. They rely heavily on muscle and momentum. If they feel cornered or threatened, they will charge at you. Turning your back away from a cougar can really influence them to attack you. Instead, you should stand tall, be prepared, and point your gun. Manatee animal injuries happen in the shallow waters from boat strikes. This is exactly the situation where it could happen. These manatees are forming a circle and socializing with each other in groups, but it has a big problem. The boater just left the docks, and the boat is heading dangerously close to a group of manatees along the shorelines of the Leonida Keys. Some might say these boats has a higher KD ratio than these manatees ever could, since they mostly eat grass, not people. Alligators weren't always celebrated. First they were hunted heavily, then they became tourist attraction. Eventually they became Florida's signature. They shaped the wetlands, balanced out the ecosystem in the grass rivers, and kept nature in check. Many locals realized it was more of a benefit than a threat. With alligators on the state seal, alligators on shirts, and on TV. But generally speaking, Lake Okeechobee is where you would find the most alligators in Florida. Lake Leonida is heavily influenced by Lake Okeechobee. What you're looking at right now on the lake surface are a bunch of aquatic plants called eelgrass. And even if you don't see a bunch of alligators yet, just know they love to hide under eelgrass plants at nighttime. Bull sharks move into the river banks and shallow waters across the Leonida state. Their ability to operate in both saltwater and freshwater gives them the upper advantage. Bull sharks are far more aggressive and faster than alligators, making them one of the most adaptable apex predators in the Leonida region. People are saying this is a tiger shark, but honestly that doesn't add up. This looks way more like a bull shark. Dark gray skin, thick bill with a round slanted snout. And that's the type of shark you'd expect to see around these areas in Vice City. Me personally, I think this is a bull shark. Wild boars are extremely aggressive, heavily built, and hard to bring down. A full-size wild boar almost certainly beats the bobcat every single time in a fight. Most of the time, bobcats stick to smaller prey, ducks, squirrels, and other rodents, keeping the rodent population low and maintaining their balance in their ecosystem. That cougar stalking you, it has one of the highest hunting success rates. A true apex predator back in the 1890s. That was pure instinct. But today, the same predator is dodging cars, avoiding 700-pound black bears, literal thieves steady trying to steal the cougar's food. That cougar against a full black bear, its KD is almost at 0, like a kitten taking on a full armored tank. These bears are huge, strong, and can steal kills or fatally injure a cougar, showing just how dangerous they really are. Its skull is dense, and their claws do more than scratching. They hook, they hold, and they tear. For a cougar, that's a problem. Its usual killing move is the neck bite. That doesn't work the same way on a black bear. A black bear's shoulders are wrapped in a thick muscle and fat. One mistake puts the big cat in a reach of claws that can break bones in a single strike. That's why in Rockstar Games' new ecosystem, you'll see a cougar avoid a black bear whenever possible. In shared territories, black bears are often dominant. Don't let their shy reputation fool you. They don't hide, they move towards the sound. When a black bear smells a cougar's kill, it can stalk and steal its prey. The cougar usually backs off the moment the bear walks up. Because a cougar's call sometimes means the cougar just got a kill. The black bear knows this and it tries to follow it to take its food. When a black bear smells a cougar's kill, it can stalk in and steal the prey. Most of the time, they avoid conflict, but when running isn't an option, they fight back. But overall, when these two animals share the same habitat, you don't get a fair fight. There is something most people didn't notice. In Red Dead Redemption 2, alligators stayed almost completely submerged underwater. You usually only saw their heads sticking out the water, which made them hard to see, especially in murky swamps. But not all of them. The legendary alligator was different. It was bigger, so its body sat higher in the water. making those ridges on its back way more visible. But in GTA 6, that detail isn't rare anymore. More of the alligator's body is exposed to the water while it swims. You actually get to see the ridges going all the way down its back. It doesn't matter if it's muddy water or complete darkness. The alligator can detect exactly where the movement is coming from, which means even if you try to dip your toe in the water, it still might know you're there. Alligators can feel movement in the water with those small dots on their face, which reacts as pressure sensors. They detect tiny vibrations in the water. Even the smallest splash or a ripple when you try to sneak into the water tells them something is nearby moving. It might not be leaving since they conserve so much energy, but when they dive, their heart rate slows down dramatically, helping them conserve oxygen. In both real life and in the logical open world gaming standpoint in Leonida swamps, alligators' eyes reflect light at night. They have reflective layers on their eyes called tapetum lucidum. This layer improves night vision by reflecting the light inside the eyes. That's why when you see a light across the swamp at night, you might see a red glow staring back at you. And then there's the most important logic about the alligator's immune system. Alligators live in slow-moving water with mud filled with way too much bacteria and decaying plants. The swampy waters and the marshes is where they commonly live, places where an open bullet wound can get easily infected. But research shows alligators have powerful antibiotics in their blood. Scientists studied because their immune system can fight bacteria that would normally cause serious infections to other animals. So if an alligator is severely injured with bullet wounds and it retreats back into the water, its immune system is better to handle that environment better than most animals. Not in a video game standpoint, but like in real life. But it does mean they are highly adapted to survive bacteria-rich water. But that's one of the reasons they thrive in extremely dirty places where other species can't live. Some birds chose to land next to alligators on purpose. What if the dangerous alligators in the entire state was actually their best bodyguards? It sounds crazy, but flamingos and other wading birds purposely land next to alligators for better safety. Why? They try to draw away raccoons and crows from stealing their eggs. Meanwhile, the alligator acts as a personal bodyguard. Shout out to a supporter who actually made the flamingo idea fly in the right direction. But generally speaking, Lake Okeechobee is where you would find the most alligators in Florida. Lake Leonida is heavily influenced by Lake Okeechobee. What you're looking at right now on the lake surface are a bunch of aquatic plants called eelgrass. And even if you don't see a bunch of alligators yet, just know they love to hide under eelgrass plants at nighttime.
That's going to do it for this one. Not perfect, but it's still related to your ecosystem in some way, shape, or form. If you enjoyed this video or learned something new, you can drop a like. Completely up to you though. Hopefully I can get better with the immersive talk and think of more cool ideas. I come behind Coastal. Until next time.